The mortal remains of General Bipin Rawat and his wife Madhulika Rawat will be laid in a state for, in fact, people to come and pay their last respects. The mortal remains of General Rawat and his wife Madhulika Rawat will be laid at the CDS's residence in Delhi for all to pay their last respects. The remains will be there for the next few hours. Politicians, military officers, everyone will get a chance to pay their final salute to the top military officer. From 11 a.m. till 12:30 this afternoon, civil dignitaries and citizens will be allowed to pay homage to the fallen soldier. From 12:30 p.m. till 1:30, for 1 hour, military personnel will be allowed to pay their tributes. Following that, the final journey of General Bipin Rawat will begin from his residence to Brar Square Crematorium at 2 p.m. Congress MP Rahul Gandhi will pay his tribute at 11 a.m. at General Rawat's residence. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath will also be heading to Delhi to pay his tributes. There have been, in fact, tributes, respects pouring in from across the world. The Chief of Defence Staff of Sri Lanka, General Shavendra Silva, is also expected to attend the last rites of General Bipin Rawat. Aishwarya Paliwal is joining us live from the Brar Square Crematorium. Aishwarya, where you're standing is where General Rawat's final journey will culminate. He'll be cremated there with full military honours.
Yes, Akshita, definitely. It will be full military honours and the preparations are underway. So, we are seeing how dignitaries have started pouring in. All the preparations at the moment are already underway. The last checks are being taken care of. We are seeing how all the officials too, along with their wives, along with their children, have already reached the cremation ground. And in just a couple of hours, we will see the ceremony begin. From what we are understanding, Akshita, at the moment, around 2 p.m. is when the mortal remains of General Bipin Rawat and his wife, the journey will begin from their home and they will come to this cremation ground. A lot of people have already started pouring in. Everyone is in a very somber mood. Many people are coming with the Rites. As far as the full military honours are concerned, people the officers, all of them are now doing the last minute checks and everything is now in place. Some people are also at the moment, we can see are making some last minute phone calls. All the officers, everyone keeping the COVID protocol in mind. This is where we can go. Everyone is wearing a mask, as you can see. And the number of people who are turning up, high ranking officers, all of them are now making their way towards the cremation ground. Akshita.
And for the last rites, when the final salute is given with full military honours for General Rawat, we're expecting a number of very senior military personnel to also be present there. Aishwarya, is the Defence Minister also going to be there for the cremation?
From what we are gathering, yes, Akshita, we will see Defence Minister Rajnath Singh also coming here to the cremation ground. He will come here and pay his pay his homage. A lot of officers at the moment have also reached the spot along with their family members. Most of them have already been seated and, it will be full military honours. The band, what you see is the band, and the preparations are still underway because as far as the mortal remains of General Bipin Rawat are concerned, the journey will begin from his house 2 p.m. and Akshita, roughly it will take an hour for the mortal remains to come to the cremation ground. So we are expecting the ceremony to begin, the cremation actually to begin by 3:30 today. Most of the officers already in place. The band, as you can see, is already in place. A lot of family members are coming in. A lot of family members and officers have also started coming in. Some last minute preparation is underway here at the cremation ground. And yes, we are expecting Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to be present.
Okay, so the Defence Minister, as Aishwarya is telling us, is going to be there. He paid his respects last night also at the Palam airport when Prime Minister Modi was also there. The mortal remains of General Rawat, of Mrs. Madhulika Rawat, of Brigadier LS Lidder and all the others were brought to the Palam airport. So today you're going to be seeing the cremation of Brigadier LS Lidder, which is going to start in about 30 minutes from now from the same venue where Aishwarya is, from the Brar Square crematorium. And in the afternoon is when General Rawat will also be cremated. Full military honours is something that Rajnath Singh had announced in Parliament yesterday, and fittingly so, keeping in mind the contribution that General Rawat has made over 4 decades in service in the forces. Aishwarya, you did tell us that many senior military personnel will be there to offer their final salute as a mark of respect for General Rawat as well. Just take us through really what the schedule is, because we understand that right now, in about 1 hour from now, General Rawat's mortal remains will be kept at his residence. People will be allowed to come in and pay their last respects also to the General.
Well, Akshata, what we are, gathering at the moment around 9:30 is what Rahul Gandhi, he is expected to visit the house of General Rawat. And we will see till about 2 p.m. today, the doors of the house will be open for all the dignitaries, for anyone who wants to pay his or her last respects. They can go to the house of General Bipin Rawat. After that, the final journey will begin, which will culminate here at this cremation ground. In fact, we do see Rajvardhan Rathore also, he is in conversation with the officers here. He is amongst one of the first to arrive at the cremation ground. He reached almost 15-20 minutes back. He is in a very deep conversation, having a very deep conversation with the officers at the moment. He came along with his wife, and the band is also ready. They are just waiting for the mortal remains of Commander Lidder to be brought. That cremation will also begin in just a couple of minutes from now. The officers are all taking their places. Everything is under control, and there Rajvardhan Rathore having a conversation with the officers, making sure, from what we can gather, Akshita, he's making sure everything is in place and the ceremony goes very smoothly. That's what we are understanding at the moment. He's having a conversation, and other officers too are now making sure they're standing at their places. The band is also ready. We will see around 3 p.m. This is the cremation ground where the final journey of General Bipin Rawat will culminate. Everything is just being taken care of. All the officers are here. It looks like everything is in place at the moment, Akshita.
And in a few minutes from now, Aishwarya, I request you to stay on with us. While the cremation of General Rawat will happen this afternoon about 3 o'clock, in about 20 minutes from now, we're expecting Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to also arrive there for the cremation, the final salute to Brigadier LS Lidder. I just want to tell you in our next report about the legacy that Brigadier Lidder also leaves behind. A second-generation army officer. He was just, in fact, due for a promotion. He's been serving for the last 1 year as defence assistant to the Chief of Defence Staff. A man, an army man who had a clear vision, who was on a mission clearly also to serve the country, and did so wonderfully. The reason you see Rajvardhan Rathore also there at the Brar Square crematorium is because Rathore has spoken about his days with Brigadier Lidder there at the National Defence Academy, and his journey, about how he saw Lidder being so inspired to serve the country. Here's a report where we pay tribute to Brigadier Lidder.
The untimely death of the 13 brave hearts in the chopper crash in Tamil Nadu has left a gaping void in the hearts of 1 billion Indians. Among those who died in the tragic accident was Brigadier Lakhwinder Singh Lidder, a caring father, husband, and a brave soldier that the nation lost. Brigadier Lidder had an illustrious and impressive career in the armed forces. A second-generation army officer who hailed from Haryana's Panchkula, Brigadier Lidder had been on the staff of CDS General Bipin Rawat for over a year and was cleared for promotion to become a Major General. An alumnus of the National Defence College, he was commissioned to the Jammu and Kashmir Rifles after passing out from the Indian Military Academy in 1990. He served as the adjutant of the 2nd Jammu and Kashmir Rifles between 1992 and 1999 for counter-insurgency operations in the Kashmir Valley, which wiped out 250 terrorists. Then a Major, Lidder was awarded the Sena Medal, the Chief of Army Staff Commendation Card and the General Officer Commanding-in-Chief's Commendation Card for his exceptional valour and bravery during the 3-year tenure. Brigadier Lidder also served along the line of actual control in the northeast and commanded a brigade on the border in the northern sector. The brigadier is survived by his wife and 16-year-old daughter Ashna. Ashna's book of poems was published just last month. Brigadier Lakhwinder Singh Lidder is remembered by his neighbours and friends fondly.
उसकी जो पर्सनालिटी थी हंसमुख मिलनसार और बहुत ही अच्छे नेचर का था। मेरे छोटे भाई का फ्रेंड है, मेरा ब्रदर छोटा है, वो भी ब्रिगेडियर है आर्मी में और काफ़ी जब से आर्मी ज्वाइन की इसने रहे तो बाहर ही हैं ज़्यादा और जब भी छुट्टी आते थे साल में 2-3 बार जब भी आना 2 दिन के लिए 1 दिन के लिए भी आना तो यहाँ सबको मिल के जाते थे, बिना मिले कभी भी वापस नहीं गए और अच्छे मिलनसार थे।
BJP leader Rajyavardhan Rathore was Brigadier Lakhwinder Singh Lidder, NDA batchmate. The former Union Minister mourned the death of his NDA batchmate, saying they fought terrorists together in Kashmir. The nation salutes Brigadier Lidder for his gallant service in protecting the borders, fighting terror and sacrificing his life for the nation. Bureau Report, India Today.
We've lost so many heroes in that tragic chopper crash on Wednesday. One of them, Brigadier Lidder as well. Aishwarya Paliwal is joining us live from the Brar Square crematorium. Unfortunately, a crematorium that we're going to be looking a lot of images of which we're going to be seeing a lot of today, as both General Rawat and Brigadier Lidder will be cremated there. In about 20 minutes from now, Aishwarya, we're expecting that the ceremony will begin. Rajyavardhan Rathore also, as you told us, is also there to pay his last respects to his friend Brigadier Lidder. Apologies. We'll reconnect with Aishwarya in just a bit and we will of course get you those live updates from Brar Square crematorium. The Defence Minister Rajnath Singh is also going to be there shortly. He's going to be there to pay his last respects to Brigadier Lidder. The ceremony, the cremation, will begin in about 30 minutes from now, is what we're hearing. And let's also get you a report of the tributes that poured in from the Prime Minister last night at the Palam Airport as the mortal remains of General Rawat, Mrs. Madhulika Rawat, Brigadier Lidder and all the other personnel that we've lost in this chopper crash was brought down from the Sulur Air Base in Coimbatore. We will in fact be getting you that report, but let's cut across to some live updates first.
थोड़ा सा साइड हो जाएं प्लीज आप भी हां एक मिनट बोलिए इनको मैडम को हटाना चेक मैडम आप थोड़ा इधर आ जाओ मैं पकड़ लेता हूं उसको दे दो चल ये ट्राई करना है राजवर्धन जी लीडर साहब का आज अंतिम संस्कार किया आपके बैचमेट है क्या कहेंगे मैडम निकलो ना
ब्रिगेडियर लखविंदर सिंह लिडर उनका अंतिम संस्कार अभी हो रहा है और उसी कारण से हम सभी उनके फौजी साथी यहाँ पर मौजूद हैं। हर फौजी के लिए ये एक चुनौती रहती है कि खतरा हमेशा सामने होता है और लेकिन इस चुनौती का सामना करके देश सेवा करना यही एक फौजी का कर्तव्य है, धर्म है। यहाँ जितने भी लोग आए हुए हैं, चाहे फौजियों के परिवार हों या खुद फौजी हों, देश सेवा में हमेशा तत्पर रहना, हमेशा मुस्तैद रहना यही हमारी सबकी जिम्मेदारी है। मुझे इस बात का फख्र है कि ब्रिगेडियर लीडर शुरू से राष्ट्रीय रक्षा अकादमी में जब हम 16 साल की उम्र में गए थे तब से लेकर अभी तक हम सबसे ब्राइटेस्ट फौजी ऑफिसर, और उन्होंने कश्मीर में अपनी सेवा दी, विदेश में अपनी सेवा दी, और भारत की सेना में मेजर जनरल की रैंक उनको मिल चुकी थी और उनका पूरा करियर आगे था, लेकिन आज ये हम सबको सामना करना पड़ रहा है।
ठीक है सर, राजेंद्र जी।
So that is Rajyavardhan Rathore, who's there at the Brar Square crematorium to say his final goodbye to a friend, to Brigadier Lakhwinder Singh Lidder. And Rajyavardhan Rathore has detailed also on social media about how he and Brigadier Lidder were in the NDA together and how he really saw Brigadier Lidder rise the ranks with his passion to serve the nation. Aishwarya Palewale is live with us from the Brar Square crematorium. So many stories of bravery, Aishwarya, that have come to the fore in the last few days about the heroes that we've lost in this chopper crash. And if we were to speak about Brigadier Lidder, you know, a decorated army officer, he was due for a promotion to the rank of Major General, and all of that is something that Rathore also has touched upon. So many friends, family, the entire nation feels this loss today, which is why we see so many people also gathered there at the Brar Square crematorium.
Yes, Akshata, definitely. You know, the number of people, and especially we just heard Rajyavardhan Rathore also speak about his fond memories. They were just 16 years old when they joined the NDA, which is the National Defence Academy. And now we are seeing the casket being brought to the cremation ground. The casket at the moment is being held by all the officers. The cremation will begin in just a couple of minutes. This is the casket of Brigadier LS Lidder. You know, the casket is being brought down. All the officers are now holding the casket, and the casket is now going inside the cremation, where the cremation will be done in full state honors. All the officers now holding the casket. We will see the ceremony of the full state honors begin in just a couple of minutes. The casket of Brigadier LS Lidder now being taken inside the cremation ground. This is the Brar cremation ground inside the Delhi Cantonment. All the high-ranking officers are now present and in full state honors. Brigadier Lidder, his last journey now begins. Rajyavardhan Rathore too, accompanying the casket. He has very fond memories. When they were 16 years old, he and Brigadier Lidder were together in the NDA, in the National Defence Academy. And now, in full state honors, the casket being moved towards the cremation ground. Rajyavardhan Rathore too accompanying the casket being taken inside the cremation ground, where in full state honors Brigadier Lidder will be cremated in just a couple of minutes. Akshata.
As you get us those live visuals from the Brar Square crematorium, heartbreaking really to see friends, family gathered there, and it's a very, very difficult time for them. Brigadier Lakhwinder Singh Lidder is survived by his wife and his 16-year-old daughter Ashna as well. He's a second-generation army officer. You saw also on the casket there, written along with Brigadier LS Lidder, was VSM and SM, which is of course the fact that he was awarded the Vishisht Sena Medal and the Sena Medal. So one of the decorated officers of the Indian Army. He was a second-generation army officer. He had his roots, in fact, in Haryana's Panchkula. He's in fact been on the staff of General Rawat for more than a year now as his defence assistant. He'd been cleared for a promotion to the post of Major General, was to leave General Rawat's staff soon to take charge. We were told in January he was to take charge as a division officer. And there are so many memories that he's given his friends, his family. His legacy will truly live on. And as we beam for you those live pictures from the Brar Square crematorium, our prayers with the family, with the friends of Brigadier Lidder to give them the strength to deal with this kind of a tragedy. And one of the images that really stand with you is what happened last night as well at the Parliament airport when the family got the first glimpse of the casket with the name written there of Brigadier Lidder. And despite that, to show such strength, to show such bravery in the face of an adversity, in the face of this kind of an insurmountable tragedy, really explains to you in a way something and a spirit that you'll find only in the family of our forces, only in Fauji families. And that's what really hits you when you see these kind of images also that come to light. Now at the Brar Square crematorium, Brigadier LS Lidder, and you see there again Sena Medal, Visisht Sena Medal, to highlight his contributions to the nation, his service to the nation, his many highs that we will remember forever. Let's cut across, in fact, to the ceremony that's underway at the crematorium. There from his comrades, from the other servicemen, they're saluting the contribution of Brigadier Lidder to the forces, to the nation. And as we also beam for you these live pictures, I just want to also take you through some of the many highs of Brigadier Lidder. He was commissioned into the Jammu and Kashmir Rifles. He had earlier commanded the 2nd Battalion of the regiment also. He'd served, interestingly, abroad as India's defense attaché to Kazakhstan, was considered to be a counter-terror specialist. As I mentioned, he was serving as the defense assistant for over a year now to General Bipin Rawat, to the Chief of Defence Staff, was due for a promotion which was cleared to the rank of Major General and was to in fact leave General Rawat in January to take over in his new role. Many friends, family have come together to pay their tributes to the army man, but also to the man that he was, to all that he did for his family and his friends. Rajavardhan Rathore, for example, has put across a very moving tribute on social media about his time at the National Defence Academy. He has mentioned how they trained together, how they fought terrorists together, and that's why Rathore is also there to pay his final respect. You just saw that, Rathore laying a wreath there, paying his final respect, his final salute to his friend, to his comrade, Brigadier Lidder. This is such a huge loss for the nation. And as you see top military personnel present there laying a wreath to commemorate his service, to commemorate Brigadier Lidder's service to the nation and all that he's done for the country. Senior military personnel are gathered there laying a wreath. Remember that he is being cremated with full state honours. Aishwarya Paliwal is still live with us at the Brar Square crematorium. Aishwarya, as we beam these very moving pictures, we as a nation, of course, come together every single time with these kind of images. It numbs you because it's not just a time when you remember, the services of Brigadier Lidder and all that, our army men put forth, risking their lives for us, but also of the immense loss that families, that friends feel in this kind of circumstances.
We are seeing one of the ministers coming out, just trying to see. Haryana Chief Minister has arrived at the cremation ground. He is now going inside. Haryana Chief Minister ML Khattar now going inside the cremation ground and we are also expecting Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to reach this cremation ground, which is the Brar crematorium, which is inside the Delhi Cantonment. He too will be here in just a couple of minutes. We just saw how Haryana Chief Minister just came and now he's making his way towards the crematorium. All the officers are now waiting for the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to arrive in just a couple of minutes. Akshata, we are expecting a lot of dignitaries, a lot of VVIPs to come to this cremation ground. Brigadier LS Lidder will be laid to rest in just a couple of minutes. Haryana Chief Minister made his way and he is reaching the spot just as we speak. The security on its toes here, Akshita. Most of the VVIPs will be arriving in the next couple of hours. Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Yogi Adityanath, is also expected to come to Delhi to pay his respects to both General Bipin Rawat and his wife. Akshita.
The Haryana Chief Minister, as Aishwarya pointed out, has just reached. He was Haryana's pride. Brigadier Lidder hailed from Haryana's Panchkula. Chief Minister Manohar Lal Khattar has just reached there. As is procedure, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will reach shortly, but right now it's the military officers, their comrades, their servicemen, all of whom have either served with Brigadier Lidder or heard of his legacy. They've come to offer their final salute, as you see there. They lay a wreath there in remembrance of his journey, in remembrance of his service to the nation, and as a thank you to Brigadier Lidder for all that he's done for our armed forces, for the betterment of our forces and for the country. As I mentioned, Brigadier Lidder is survived by his wife and his 16-year-old daughter Ashna, and your heart really goes out to the family, how they also are dealing with this strife and the kind of bravery and strength that they're showing in this kind of a time of insurmountable tragedy. You can only imagine how bogged down they feel with the words that they would have received on Wednesday when the chopper crashed. And despite that, at the first sight of that casket with his bearing his name of Brigadier LS Lidder, not one of them broke down, and that shows you the strength that these families carry with them, knowing full well that their loved ones served the nation. You can see the Haryana Chief Minister there, Manohar Lal Khattar, paying his final salute to another man of his soil, to a man who hailed from Haryana, a man who hailed from Haryana's Panchkula. He was a pride of Haryana, the pride of India. So the Chief Minister, Manohar Lal Khattar, also just laid a wreath there at the mortal remains of Brigadier LS Lidder. This is a somber moment for us as a nation, and I've been detailing for you some of the many highs of Brigadier Lidder and so many tributes that have come out on social media, so many memories with the Brigadier and what a person he was, beyond the army man, beyond the man who looked to serve his country. He was a man who was also loved by his family, by his friends, so many of whom have gathered there. You can see the kind of crowds there at the Brar Square crematorium. And very emotional scenes that we saw earlier of people who had gathered there, breaking down at this moment. As unbelievable as it may seem, it was a cruel twist of fate, really, because Brigadier Lidder was set to, in fact, take over in his new role. He was also set to be promoted to the rank of Major General. It was cleared as well. And just a month or so to go before he was being moved to his new role, when tragedy has struck and he was killed in that horrifying chopper crash. And it saddens us to tell you that these are scenes that unfortunately you're going to see a repeat of, a lot more of in the coming days, because we've lost so many personnel, so many heroes in the chopper crash on Wednesday. This afternoon, General Rawat's remains also will be taken to the Brar Square crematorium after his final journey. He will be cremated there. And I'm sure a lot of you are wondering why today you're seeing two heroes being cremated. What about the others? The unfortunate reality is that as far as the other personnel who died in this crash are concerned, the identification process of their mortal remains is still being done. But these are the images that I was also telling you about earlier, about how you had all of these family members last night at the Palam airport showing such emotional restraint that perhaps none of us would be capable of. All of them showing such restraint, such strength, as they for the first time had a glimpse of the coffins that carried their loved ones, of the mortal remains of their loved ones. So you have to, of course, keep a prayer in mind for all of these families to give them the strength to overcome this kind of a time. We as a nation, all that we can do right now is not just offer our condolences, but stand by these families, understand their grief, understand that they're having, of course, what they're having to deal with at this moment. Aishwarya Paliwal is still with us. Aishwarya, the Defence Minister is expected to reach there any moment now. We had the Defence Minister last night also at the Palam airport, accompanying Prime Minister Modi, paying his last respects to all of them.
Did see how swiftly Defence Minister Rajnath Singh had moved on the day when the tragedy unfolded. He was there at his house. From there he went to the South Block. He got all the information. He also advised Prime Minister Narendra Modi of what had happened, and then in just a couple of hours we did see him going and visiting the family members, the daughters of General Bipin Rawat. He was at his house for the next couple of hours. So he really moved very swiftly, and we did see him at the Palam airport accompanying Prime Minister Narendra Modi. We are expecting him to reach here at the Brar Square, the cremation ground inside the Delhi Cantonment, in just a couple of minutes. Interestingly, Akshita, you did say, Brigadier Lidder's daughter is 16 years old, and that is the exact age when he had joined the National Defence Academy, the NDA, along with Rajyavardhan Rathore and Ajit Doval. The NSA has just reached the cremation ground. Ajit Doval going inside to pay his respects to Brigadier Lidder. He's making his way towards the cremation ground. He's walking along with, he's just walking inside. He will be meeting Haryana Chief Minister and Rajyavardhan Rathore inside. So we are seeing a slew of dignitaries making their way at the cremation ground. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, Akshata, is expected very shortly at this cremation ground.
So the NSA has just reached there. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh is also going to be there any moment now to lay a wreath to offer their final respects to Brigadier Lidder. I just also want to get you those images of the family members. You see, of course, what a moment this is, and what a difficult time this is for the family, and to put up such a brave face in this time of unbelievable emotional trauma, of tragedy. You see his wife there. He's survived by his wife and his 16-year-old daughter Ashna. There were some very, very touching images that came in last night from the Palam airport that will really leave you numb, of his daughter. Unspeakable grief really on her face, written all over her face. She didn't break down, refused to do so, and that's something, a character that you find perhaps only in these Fauji families. But as she was there, she kissed, in fact, the casket that bore her father's mortal remains. And today you see her putting up a brave face there, something you do not expect from a 16-year-old, something no 16-year-old has to face. She's standing there at the Brar Square crematorium. And for this family too, this is such a tough time. We as a nation can stand by them, help them overcome this time of grief, but to show such emotional strength and restraint like no other, really. And it shows in those pictures that you see as the family gathered, the wife and daughter stood there holding back their emotions for the first time, seeing the mortal remains of their loved one, of Brigadier Lidder, as they stood there at the Palam airport. Such a difficult time for the family. Aishwarya also pointed out how at 16, as Brigadier Lidder's daughter Ashna says goodbye to her father, her father, Brigadier Lidder, was so inspired at such a young age. At 16 is when, in fact, he joined the National Defence Academy, so clear at such a young age that he wanted to serve the nation. And it's perhaps that strength, the commitment that he had to the forces, to serving the country, that's giving the strength to his family right now to overcome such a difficult period in their life. The NSA there, Ajit Doval, who reached a few moments ago, offering his last salute, his last respects to Brigadier LS Lidder. He's just laid a wreath there, stood briefly for a moment to offer his condolences, and theirs moved aside. You see senior military officers, all of them paying their last respects there, the Brar Square crematorium. Brigadier LS Lidder, as you see the casket there, wrapped in the tricolour, will be cremated with full military honours. We're expecting Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to also be there. The messaging from the country is very clear. The fact that as soon as the mortal remains touched down in Delhi, touched down in the Palam airport, Prime Minister Modi was there to offer his respects on behalf of the entire nation, on behalf of a grateful nation that's in mourning today over the loss of so many heroes, so many greats. We've been hearing such inspiring stories of their bravery, of their courage, of all that they did to serve the nation. Brigadier Lidder was a second-generation army officer. He'd been, in fact, on the staff of General Rawat for more than a year now, serving as defence assistant. Really cruel twist of fate. I can keep saying this, but what really hits you is the fact that in just about a month from now, he was set to be shifted to his new role. His promotion to the rank of Major General was cleared. He had miles to go, really, in serving the nation. And it's really cruel what's happened really to his family, to us as a nation. And as we all collectively mourn the loss of a hero, the loss of Brigadier Lidder, our prayers also with the family, with his wife, as well as his 16-year-old daughter, Ashna. And may they get the strength to overcome this kind of an insurmountable tragedy.